Chapter 539. Kishir's eyes were clear, as if he had considered the idea long before today. Upon hearing his words, Yudhir's mind reflexively flashed back to the day in a past life when he had killed Kishir. Do you remember the inexplicable bond I inflicted upon you? Perhaps what was connected that day was something deeper than our physical selves, something akin to a soul. After much searching for a way to sever this unseen link, I concluded that my powers could bring out the most optimal outcome. This will end soon, pushing until all bonds are forcibly severed, and then words that had been hard to fully understand when neither had dreamt them. However, if Kishir could intentionally draw their connection closer with his power, couldn't the opposite also be true? If both objects that were stuck together were pushed in opposite directions indefinitely, then whatever they would certainly sever. A chill crawled down his spine, and he felt as if every hair on his body stood on end. A sense of certainty flooded in, confirming what Kishir in his past life had intended to do. His mind grew icy. Did Kishir succeed back then? What happened next? Kishir in his past life had intended to use his abilities to sever his connection with Yudhir as he faced his own end. Assuming that he succeeded, why was it that even after returning back time, a thread between him and Yudhir still remained? Had the connection severed as he wished, or had it failed? Had Yudhir remained unscathed despite the severance? No, I thought so, but that wasn't the case. Yudhir recalled the gaps in his memory he had lived unaware of, the countless holes still lurking somewhere within him. The majority of the memories he had recovered and the gaps he had filled were related to Kishir. Was this the price he had to pay for Kishir's attempt to sever their bond? His head throbbed and ached. The more he tried to think, the more painful it became. Yudhir? Kishir called out cautiously, observing the icy pallor that had come over Yudhir's face. Yudhir finally snapped out of his own reverie and looked at Kishir. The headache vanished as quickly as it had arrived. Is there something troubling you in what I have said? No, there isn't. Avoiding Kishir's gaze, Yudhir hesitated briefly before speaking. I see. I'm not certain if the plan you have suggested is actually possible, as I hadn't fully considered it, but it doesn't seem entirely impossible. What Kishir was attempting now was fundamentally different from what he had tried in his past life. Instead of meddling with the connection itself, he merely intended to draw in an already existing but rarely activated connection, making it easier to trigger and utilizing the resulting sensations. First, let's see if it's really possible or not, Yudhir thought. Would it be difficult to try it out now? No? Wouldn't it be better to rest a bit first? Knowing that this concern was directed at him, Yudhir shook his head gently. He responded that he didn't want to delay even a little if there was a way. Kishir looked into his face for a moment before nodding. Knowing he lacked the power, Yudhir tried to keep a neutral expression on his face, like someone hesitating to reveal a secret. Let's try something simple then. Kishir took Yudhir's hand. Use any ability, just enough to open your eye of magic. Immediately, Yudhir conjured a breeze. As the warm wind brushed against the strands of hair on his forehead, a golden light streamed from his eye, signaling that his eye of magic had opened. I don't see any other powers right now, but... Despite the dim lighting, the clarity with which he could see Kishir's facial expression and even the number of his eyelashes confirmed the activation of his eye of magic. While contemplating this, Kishir, who had been gazing into the golden eye, gently tightened his grip on Yudhir's hand. In that instant, the air around them seemed to ripple, and a tingling sensation spread from behind Yudhir's eyes. His hand twitched involuntarily. When I channel my magic power, there is indeed a reaction. The light intensified. Though Kishir whispered it, Yudhir couldn't see it, making it hard to believe. Now, try using your ability. A subtle, mist-like energy began to emanate from Kishir's entire body. Yudhir caught every distorted, misty fluctuation, difficult as they were to see. The moment that lingering energy seemed to know where to go, it surged through their clasped hands into Yudhir. Yudhir inhaled deeply and clenched his teeth. Something had touched. Something deep within Yudhir, something dormant, quivered at this sudden contact. Something else followed smoothly, pulling at it. Yudhir felt as if his entire being was being sucked towards Yudhir and swayed, feeling momentarily dizzy. "You're fine." A soft voice reassured him as the hand gripping his tightened, as if to deny the sensations as unreal. Yudhir took a deep breath and blinked reflexively. Then, in that brief moment, he saw a world turned utterly upside down. Between him and Kishir wavered a single familiar thread. That faint, fragile thread, seemingly made of light, looked nearly identical to the one that had once helped Yudhir locate Kishir in Thenu. He followed the trajectory of that weightless thread fluttering around them. Reaching its end, he realized it was connected to both their clasped hands and Kishir's red eyes. He was overwhelmed, unable to speak. At the same time, the world gradually faded to white. All he could see was the presence before him. The scent he had surely memorized felt more vivid than ever. Yudhir breathed in the comforting fragrance of Kishir, imbibing unfamiliar yet familiar emotions within that scent. It was as if, from the beginning, everything within Yudhir had longed to continue between drawn towards them. The delicate thread encircling his body yearned for a deeper, stronger connection, once lost and now hoped for again. In a powerful interweaving and entanglement, the fragmented pieces loudly cried out for something. It was the name of the one who had once been like a part of him, or perhaps a memory, or maybe regret, or even resentment. And in response to those intense emotions, he sensed similar yet unfamiliar sensations coming from somewhere invisible that were connected to him. Yudhir felt entrapped by these sensations, as if they were violently shaking his soul. He tried to suppress them with force but failed. When Yudhir opened his eyes again, he became aware that he was still in the unchanged gallery. He had been sitting upright, holding Kishir's hand while attempting the ritual, but now found himself almost embraced in the man's arms. Kishir's energy had long since waned, and the wind summoned by Yudhir had also dissipated. Finally, taking a long breath, the pair of red eyes that had been staring into Yudhir's blinked. "Commander, we successfully activated the connection. Did you feel it?" Yes, I felt it." "Any pain or discomfort?" "None." "Good, that's fortunate." Kishir brushed his hand across Yudhir's forehead. Yudhir sat up as if waking from a dream. The lingering fragments of emotions swirling in his head faded quickly, causing him to forget what he had just felt. "Are you all right, Commander?" Kishir explained that the moment the connection was activated, as expected, he had been able to somewhat feel what Yudhir's eye of magic was seeing by using his own magic energy. "I sensed the flow of the awakener energy and magic energy from me. However, the connection kept unexpectedly strengthening. I couldn't disconnect it as easily as I had hoped to." After saying this much, Kishir briefly shook his head. Now that Yudhir looked, he noticed Kishir's gaze was also inexplicably dull and deep. "I thought I sensed something immediately after that, but I can't be sure." "Something?" Yudhir felt similarly. He thought he had sensed something, but the feeling quickly faded as he regained his senses, making it difficult to put into words. "But I have gained one answer." It was now certain that with Kishir's power, activating the connection was possible. and through that, he could also reach Uther's eye of magic. It was a significant step forward in the path to healing the Emperor. Instead of being mired in the unknown, it was better to organize the answers they had found. Uther lay down in the bedroom, filled with aromatic pouches that the Empress had sent for them, and after pondering for a long while, closed his eyes.